House District 2 Representative Dan Flynn was in Sulphur Springs Tuesday. He was in town for a meet and greet at a local coffee shop, but he stopped by KSST studios on his way out of town. We visited with Representative Flynn about his accomplishments during the last legislative session and his view for the future.
We have had some great challenges as far as what we've tried to accomplish and what have you. The border is a big challenge for us. I think we've addressed that in the last session. Now, did we stop it? No, because it's not our responsibility. The federal government is supposed to do that, but what we've done is we've doubled the amount of manpower going down there and double the funding so that our DPS, our Parks and Wildlife folks, our game wardens, and the local law enforcement are being able to better equip themselves to protect that border. In the area of pro-life issue, we had 11 pro-life bills that were passed and signed by the governor in the last session. Transportation and bridges, roads and bridges have been a real issue for us, particularly in this area. We were able to pass some significant legislation that allowed more flexibility for our counties, our county commissioners to be able to address those issues. Then that comes down to what's always the number one issues, and that's public education and health care. Those are the two issues that take up 80% of the budget of the state of Texas. And in both cases, we were able to address those issues. We put additional funding into public education. One of the things that I've been a champion of is that's to get rid of this STAR test. It's one of those accountability features that you're trying to meet government mandates from the federal government, and it creates more stress for students, teachers, and parents than just about anything. We reduced from 15 to 5. Real proud of that accomplishment. As far as Second Amendment rights, every day somebody comes up to me and talks about it. They say that the current administration in Washington has been the greatest thing that ever happened to the gun industry, because we have now the public has more guns than all of the military combined. So that's kind of an interesting deal. I was fortunate the Texas State Rifle Association named me as their Legislator of the Year. I'm real proud of that. Retirement systems in Texas are under a real problem. There's 350 retirement systems, about $1 trillion. And the teacher retirement system, first thing we took care of this past session, was to try to take care of their health care. Those retired teachers, we owe them a debt, and we need to meet it. We were able to do it the first month of the session. We had a commitment from the appropriations chairman and myself, and that kind of took it off the table so that they could know that we could look at other issues. Speaker Strauss and Lieutenant Governor Patrick have created a select committee to look into the health care needs of not only the teacher retirement system but all the state retirement systems. The thing that I'm really proud about is that the state retirement system, or ERS, had been actuarially unsound for 20 years, and I was named the committee chair of that committee, and I'm happy to say at the end of the day we fixed that system. It's for the first time in 20 years it's actuarially sound all the way out to almost 40 years, and that was a big issue for us. Police, firemen, all municipal county employees, all of those retirement systems are under attack. And you want to know why? Well, people are living longer and they want to retire earlier. That's a major strain, and it's a recipe for failure. So what we're having to do is that's what the select committee will address those. And the retirement systems were all set up back when we didn't live as long as we're doing. And people worked until they were 65 or 70, and that's not happening now. And so what we're going to have to do is design a program that will fit these new lifestyles, and it'll be a real challenge, but I see us being able to address it. If the state of Texas made a commitment that when you went to work as a school teacher or as a state employee, we're going to uphold those commitments.
In looking at what has been accomplished and brought you to this particular point, what do you see as the challenges that face Texas, and especially this Northeast Texas area?
There's no question the biggest challenge is going to be what's happening with energy. When we've done our budgets, we always done it based on about a $40 average of barrel of oil. Well, it's close to $30, and it has even dipped below $30 at one point. And if you'll recall, just a very short time ago, it was well over $100 a barrel. Well, that creates some real challenges when you're budgeting, and that'll be one of the challenges that we'll face. I've talked to Glenn Hager, who's our comptroller, and the fact is he was a classmate of mine when we first went into the legislature together, and he continues to be optimistic. He believes that we're going to see an uprise in that because the people that are kind of controlling energy costs are they're going to want more money too. They're not going to want to continue to play that game. The other thing, which is a real bright spot, and this is kind of thanks to former Governor Rick Perry and Governor Abbott, is going to continue, and that is Texas has become very diversified. We've become a real high-tech area of business, and we're getting in a lot of areas that we've never done before. All you have to do is go to some of the, Austin or the North Dallas area and see those big companies that are coming in here. And it's been a real boom for our economy. So that's no question about it. That's going to be the challenge that we're going to have to work through. I continue to be confident. We've had a great run in Texas. I serve on the national boards of the National Conference of State Legislators, and I tell people when I walk in the room, everybody wants to know, how do you do it in Texas? I said, you know what we do? We do it just like you do in your family. You sit down at the kitchen table, you look at your income, you look at your expenses, and you say, they've got to be together. And if not, then you have to make responsible cuts. And that's what we've tried to do. People of Texas are okay with what we do as long as we have responsible spending. And we were able to address the big issue of water this last session. Water bank is going to be something that will really help our rural areas, particularly here in Hopkins County. We want to be sure that people voted for those amendments to allow us to create that water bank. Also, transportation. We're putting more money in transportation than we ever have. There was a big cry about toll roads. Toll roads are things that there's a big segment that just does not like them. Who likes to pay a toll road? But the reason that we were building some toll roads is there was no money, and if you had a desire and a need to have another road, the only way it was going to be built was by tolling it, and you could do it. I know a good example is down in Smith County and Tyler, Texas, that loop around Texas. It used to take you an hour to get from say Interstate 20 down to South Tyler. Well, they built that 40, 49, 45, whatever it is, and now you can do it in about 20 minutes. And they couldn't have done that had they not done it with the toll road, because there was not money in the transportation fund to do it. We did into diversions, which those gasoline tax monies were going into those other diverted policies, and it's always been my belief, if the state of Texas says we're going to collect money from you, we need to do what we said we were going to do with that money. And so I'm glad to see we've done that. But those are the big key issues. And then, of course, from a pro-life standpoint, which is what so many people in our area are concerned with, we did, as I said earlier, we passed 12 significant pro-life bills. And I'm real proud of that because, as I told a group of folks I was visiting with this morning, you get your moral compass right, and money will eventually take care of itself. And it's just like a family. As I say, you sit down at the kitchen table. If your moral compass is right and you have your priorities right, we'll be able to address those issues.
When redistricting took place, you basically inherited Hopkins County as one of your areas, and we inherited you.
Yes.
Do you feel like that with this relationship, there has been a positive for you and for Hopkins County?
Let me tell you what. Redistricting is the big gorilla around your neck. You like to believe that you have some input into it, but you don't. And you, like you say, you get to inherit a new district. It's the best thing that ever happened to Dan Flynn. Hopkins County is something that's been like a brand new set of gloves. It's fit very well. I have loved working with your people here. They're now my people, and I've spent a lot of time up here. It's amazing, and in fact I met with a group this morning down at the coffee shop, and I was telling them, I said, it's kind of interesting. I go to a lot of Chamber of Commerce banquets. I go to a lot of town hall meetings. I go to a lot of just coffees. The most well-attended ones are those in Hopkins County. Your chamber banquet, Meredith does an incredible job. Your city manager has done a great job of, that downtown. It is Mayberry, USA, and it's just wonderful to be here. I know when Judge Newsom has an event down on the county square, it's just like going back to what I believe, and it's always packed. I cannot believe the attendance and the participation of the people of Hopkins County. It's a real refreshing thing, because we're living in a day and age when people don't really have time or don't want to take time to be with their families or their communities. That's not happening in Hopkins County. It's very much about it. And I tell them, government run by people that show up, and people of Hopkins County shows up. I'm honored to have the privilege to have served them for the last 2 years, and looking forward to serving them another 2 years.
You're in a campaign that your opponent is trying to out-conservative you. From what you have accomplished, what you have named here in your accomplishments and what you see for the future, you can only be defined as a conservative. Yeah. Can anyone be more conservative than you in any issue as it relates to your service?
My son Josh lives in Harris County, lives in Houston, and he's incredibly active in fact, it was kind of fun. They used to introduce me as Josh, or as Dan Flynn, and Josh is his son. Now I go down there, and this is Josh Flynn, and this is his dad, Dan Flynn. So it's kind of a reverse role. But I want to tell you what, Josh has said to everybody, my dad was Tea Party before anybody knew what a Tea Party was. And when the House Legislative Tea Party Caucus was formed, Dan Patrick, who's the Lieutenant Governor now, came to me and Wayne Christian and said, will y'all head it up? I headed it up with Wayne. We created it, and it was I believe, a positive opportunity. It seems to have changed a little bit in that there are different goals than what I saw, that I wanted what was best for House District 2. For anyone to say they're going to get to the right of me, that would not be an honest and accurate statement. I'm very, very happy that I'm representing the values of East Texas, not the values of some West Texas billionaire who gives you a sheet and tells you how to vote. I will never do that. Nobody tells me how to vote except the people of my district. And if we disagree, that's okay on some issues. Maybe I have some input that they would need and would help them. And everybody's always welcome in our office. But no, I'm very comfortable with the positions that I've taken. I have been at the top of the list of conservatives since 2003, my first session in the Texas legislature. Ted Cruz is fond of saying, the Constitution never changes. I won't change. I like to say my voting record has never changed, and it never will.
One more quick question, because I know your time's valuable and you have a lot to do today, but I do want to ask you simply this. When Van was struck by the tornado, of course that's home.
Yes.
You responded very quickly.
Yes.
But I also have had people here in the county who have said to me that when they've contacted your office, there has been an immediate response, and you have gone out of your way to try to respond to the need that they had that was going to take an upper level assistance with, and some pressure put on people in Austin to make these things happen. When we think about a legislature, we think about the day in and day out work of bills and passing bills and so forth. But do you see responding to crisis situations as important as the day in and day out work?
You know, I believe I have the best legislative staff in Austin. They understand my philosophy, and that is that anybody that walks through the door, they are passionate about their issue, and we need to listen to them. We don't have to agree, but we do need to respond to them. That's our job. I tell high school students when they come to visit us, I said, the greatest thing about the Texas legislature is we meet 140 days every 2 years. Don't ever let them change it. And so that's a small part of the job. It's an important part of the job, but I think to be your voice in Austin is my primary responsibility. That's why I've always been a full-time legislator, and I'll continue those efforts.